Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another eMarketer Tech Talk, where we host amazing guests from all areas of media, ad tech, and MarTech. My name is Nate Elliott. I'm a principal analyst at eMarketer, covering AI in advertising and commerce. It's great to have you with us today as we explore the rise of made-for-advertising sites and AI-generated slop across the open web, and what that means for your 2026 marketing and media plans. Now, let's meet my guest. Scott Pierce is the Senior Director of Product Management at Integral Ad Science. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi Nate. Great to be here.
To our audience, we'd love to hear from you today. So go ahead and drop your questions into the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer as many as we can during the live Q&A after the show. But Scott and I have a great discussion planned for you today. But first, Scott, let me send it over to you to set the scene for us.
Terrific. And thanks to all of you who have joined our webinar today. I'm excited to talk to you about um, uh, made for advertising sites and the rise of AI slop. Let me just kind of set the stage here. The quantity of AI generated articles has now surpassed the quantity of human written articles being published on the web. So we've already reached this majority of content online is AI generated. So Europol forecasts that as much as 90% of online content next year may be AI generated. So we're seeing again a significant spike in the increase of AI generated content across the web. When it comes to AI generated content, there are rightfully concerns with low quality AI generated content. There can be brand safety concerns with AI generated content along the lines of misinformation or offensive content. There can be reputational damage advertising alongside inappropriate AI generated content, a loss of consumer trust. There are legal or potentially legal or regulatory issues uh, if an advertiser were to advertise alongside or support plagiarized or copyrighted content that is being used in AI generated content. Most importantly, AI slop sites or what we call low quality AI generated content does not deliver a performance for advertisers. It doesn't drive meaningful results. And so we consider it a waste of ad spend. So a couple months ago, we conducted a survey of our clients to gauge their interest or point of view on generative AI. And the results were very insightful. 78% of our clients believe it is important for them to know if they are running alongside AI generated content. 75% of the survey respondents reported that they would not want to run adjacent to low quality AI generated content. And finally, 31% of our clients want to avoid any or all AI generated content. So what you see here is a spectrum in which, again, depending on the advertiser or the agency, there's a different willingness or acceptance to advertise alongside AI generated content. Uh, some clients are comfortable advertising along it as long as it is of high quality and suitable for their brand, while others believe that AI generated content, any AI generated content, is inauthentic and doesn't appropriately represent their brand. So here's a couple examples of some made for advertising sites, and I'll get into a moment about the correlation or association between MFA and AI generated sites. But again, many of you are already familiar with made for advertising sites. These are sites that are purpose built to serve ads and not actually deliver content to users. Um, Many advertisers today are want to avoid or are avoiding made for advertising sites. And again, we're starting to see with this, with the popularity of generative AI, more and more of MFA sites are now being AI generated. So just to kind of level set everyone here, I want to go into a brief explanation of how we define made for advertising versus ad clutter sites, because we do make a distinction at IAS. So made for advertising sites, we really believe MFA should stand for made for arbitrage. These are specifically sites that are conducting ad arbitrage. Now, ad arbitrage involves MFA site operators placing ads either on social platforms or through content recommendation platforms that users click on a pay-per-click basis, and that they are then taken to an MFA site, which is cluttered in ads, right? The goal of the MFA site operator is to make a margin on the cost it takes to drive traffic to their site, and then monetize it through excessive advertising. So, we recommend avoiding made for advertising sites as they are most definitely a waste of ad spend. And again, we are seeing that a large percentage of made for advertising sites are AI generated. Ad clutter sites are similar to made for advertising sites in that they also are ad spammy, meaning that they have a high number of ad units, or what we call ad to content ratio. However, these are sites that are not conducting arbitrage, right? And so it's a different business model. These are again legitimate publishers that may be just excessively or aggressively monetizing their sites. There's nothing wrong with that. But the more ads that you have simultaneously on the screen is going to reduce engagement and attention rates for users. And we have also found that advertising on ad clutter sites does not perform as well as advertising on quality sites. Okay, so based on our research, here's the associations that we're seeing. So 50% of MFA sites are AI generated. 55% of ad clutter sites are AI generated, and versus 85% of quality sites are human generated. So you can see there's quite a disparity there.
Thanks very much, Scott, for that look at MFA sites and AI slop on the open web. Um, First of all, I need to say I'm disappointed that you called out Affluent Times as an example of a low quality MFA site. That's one of my favorite websites. Um, but I am curious, just to dive a little bit deeper on that. How would you describe the current state of low quality digital environments? And of course, I'm thinking specifically of the MFA, the AI generated slop sites that you've been talking about. And what exactly is it that's making this moment in particular challenging for advertisers?
Yeah, it's just you know, we've just seen an explosion of AI and agentic activity across our platform and our clients' campaigns. Not only are we seeing a rapid and massive increase in the number of AI generated sites. We're talking about tens of thousands of new sites every day that are AI generated, and as well as concerns or issues related to AI or agentic traffic, specifically AI driven bots, right? These AI agents, again, non-human traffic being sent to publisher sites to crawl and scrape content. Advertisers do not want to serve ads to non-humans, right? So we're seeing again, there are now, I believe, last time I looked, there are 55 different AI bots out there. and they're all competing with each other to collect and index content. And so really, um, the open web is going to be flooded with low quality content. Um, and at IES, we are huge proponents of a free and open web. And we very much want to support, independent publishers. And so, this is an existential or can or could be an existential problem for both publishers and advertisers. We need to ensure that, you know, we as an industry have the means of identifying quality content and avoiding the AI slop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. It caught my eye in your last slide that only about 50% of MFA sites are AI generated, about the same number of ad clutter sites are AI generated. I probably shouldn't be giving advice to the MFA site makers, but I would think that there's an efficiency opportunity that half of them are missing. But it does sort of cast a spotlight on this explosion of cheaply produced and low value content online. And, AI obviously is a big part of this, but what specifically do you see as the underlying forces that are enabling MFA sites and AI slop sites to grow so quickly?
Well, I think you touched on it. It's incredibly easy to produce these sites, right? Like again, with the emergence of generative AI, what used to require some effort. So to your point, Nate, about 50%, and we definitely expect these numbers to increase significantly next year. There still remains a lot of what I'll call legacy MFA sites or MFA sites that were created, prior to the rise of generative AI. But most of that content was either plagiarized or farmed out to content farms very inexpensively. But AI is even cheaper and faster. And so we expect to just see a huge explosion. And again, the goal of all of these sites, AI slop sites or MFA sites, is to siphon away ad spend from legitimate quality publishers, right? So our goal here is a really twofold. Number one is we want to redirect that ad spend, right? Because it is wasted ad spend from these low quality content sites to higher quality content sites that we know will outperform for advertisers and for publishers. Again, legitimate premium publishers, we want to redirect this ad spend to support them as well.
Yeah. So I've been thinking, when ads run on these low quality environments, whether it's a made for advertising site or something that's just AI slop, I'm curious, what exactly are you seeing as the biggest challenges or the biggest problems there? Is it the fact that folks bounce back off those pages really quickly and so the ads can't work, or there are just so many ads that attention gets split? And what are the metrics that you see that show this lower performance from these low quality sites? Are we talking about lower engagement or bad brand perception or
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
spend or
No, no. So there are many different signals or characteristics that we look at to identify ad clutter versus MFA sites. Or AI slop sites. Again, it's one of those situations where you kind of know it when you see it. Users are smart, and if they click on an ad and they're taken to a junk site, right? That's a poor user experience. Yeah, to your point, they're going to bounce very quickly, right? So we see very low engagement and attention rates. Um, Ironically, we actually see very high viewability rates because AI slop, MFA, and ad clutter sites, they have optimized their sites towards, I guess, what some folks refer to as vanity metrics, specifically views by stacking ads above the fold. So these sites can perform very well if you're looking at the wrong metrics or KPIs. So if you're optimizing your campaign to maximize viewability rate or to minimize viewable CPM, you may be instructing your DSP to buy these cheap views or this cheap reach. And even, you at the end of the day, you really get what you pay for, right? And so, there's a lot of cheap inventory out there. And all these AI slop sites are going to continue to bring cheap inventory to the market. But again, if you forget the vanity metrics and actually focus on meaningful incomes, and by that I mean actual conversions, conversion rate, cost per conversion, you'll see that quality sites vastly outperform, again, MFA ad clutter or AI slop sites when you're looking at the right metrics or KPIs.
Now, a lot of what we see happening in this space is happening through advertising arbitrage, and and I know this isn't a new thing, right? Ad arbitrage has been going on for years
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfectly legal business model. Mhm.
yeah. So then what is it about arbitrage in these situations or on these types of properties that is, potentially a threat to the health of the open web? And for advertisers who know that arbitrage has been going on for years, what's different about this kind of arbitrage and how aware do you think advertisers are of what's happening?
Um, I think that there's general awareness. I mean, especially over the past couple of years, there is a wide awareness of the made for advertising problem. Um, Again, there's nothing wrong with the arbitrage model. It's a completely legitimate model. There again, we don't consider made for advertising sites to be invalid traffic or fraud, for example. Um, but at the end of the day, these sites, and I touched on this earlier, these are not what I consider to be genuine or legitimate publishers, right? With first party like high quality journalism. The content is often again plagiarized, or now it's AI generated, and um, the the biggest concern for advertisers when it comes to MFA or ad clutter sites is again, these sites may not even be a brand safety, right, or brand suitability concern, but they're just a waste of ad spend, right? And so, one of the my team, I manage or lead the fraud team at IAS. My team's charter has expanded beyond fraud into identifying any and all types of low quality content that, again, underperforms for our advertising clients. And so, again, this is all about campaign optimization and maximizing return on ad spend. And so, really, we want to just redirect this spend to, again, legitimate publishers with quality content. And you can see it in the performance results.
Yeah. So for those marketers who are trying to make sure that they're not wasting budget in the way that you described, trying to make sure that their budgets are going to high quality sites and placements and environments, what signals or characteristics should they actually be looking for? Because one of the things that struck me from your presentation was 85% of high quality ad environments are human generated. And what that means is 15% presumably are generated by AI or other tools. And so even just saying AI bad, human generated good isn't really, it's not that simple, right? So what should they be looking for?
Yeah, yeah, you're spot on, Nate, and that's an important distinction. So, IS, we have publisher clients that are embracing AI or AI tools to help make their workflows more efficient. Some may also use AI tools to help with content production. Obviously, a premium publisher is going to, have an editorial staff that does, fact checking and ensures that, it's quality content. But again, we should expect premium publishers to also take advantages provided by generative AI. And it's not going to be the exclusive realm of AI slop. So there is a difference between what we consider to be high quality AI generated content versus low quality AI generated content. And low quality AI generated content is again content that we see has other attributes or signals that are red flags for us when it comes to quality. So if the AI generated site flags any of our other models that detect invalid traffic or IVT, what we considered reduced value inventory, made for advertising, ad clutter sites, low viewability, and also poor performance. Those are the key signals or metrics we are considering when trying to differentiate between high and low quality AI generated content. So if clients are concerned about the emergence of AI slop and low quality AI generated content, then today we have again I'm not here for a sales pitch, but I will mention that IS does offer post bid reporting as well as a pre bid avoidance of MFA and ad clutter sites today. So that is so again, if you want to avoid the low quality AI generated content, there are vendors and solutions out there that can help you do that.
Okay, great. I'm curious, just to turn it to the consumer perspective for a second. I mean, obviously, showing up on one of these sites is not going to be a great experience for a consumer, but in terms of how they see the brands or advertisers on these sites, whether it's MFA or Clutter or just AI slop, have you been able to look into how consumers see brands differently when they see those brands appear in these low quality environments?
Yeah, I mean it's very similar. It's a lot of the same feedback that we get from our brand suitability research, right? So for example, again, if you're a beauty brand, you do not want to advertise alongside an AI generated model, right? Because AI generated models are well perfect, right? And again, um, it could they AI generated models can create a level of beauty or perfection that's not achievable, right? And at the end of the day, advertisers want to target and reach real humans, and there has to be authenticity there, right? Users are very good at um, detecting fake or inauthentic content and or fake or inauthentic advertising, right? And so, being genuine and authentic is important to a lot of advertisers. And so that's why, again, they may not feel comfortable today advertising alongside any AI generated content. Um, Again, that may change over time if some of these forecasts are accurate, and we see as much as 90% of content be AI generated. Uh, I think that this people's opinions or perceptions are still evolving.
All right. And you mentioned some of the technology that IAS has developed in terms of pre-screening and helping buyers avoid these sites. I'm just curious, when you look at the innovations, the features that you guys are working on at IAS, which of the ones, which are you most excited about in terms of helping advertisers address MFA and AI slop?
Yeah. So again, we have a solution in market today for MFA and ad clutter, and those have been very well received. I believe the vast majority of our clients are blocking MFA sites. For ad clutter sites, we don't necessarily recommend blocking those sites. We recommend because there are certain categories of sites like news sites or recipe sites, which can have what we call an excessive ad to content ratio, but but could still drive meaningful performance for advertisers. So really, the focus should be on performance. I as far as what I'm excited about and what we are working on this quarter and through all of next year is again we expect that this AI slop problem along with the AI agentic traffic problem to be top of mind for both advertisers and publishers all throughout 2026. It's going to be my team's top area of focus, and to ensure that we can accurately identify AI versus human generated content, that we can accurately distinguish between high versus low quality AI generated content, and not only focus on text like open web text, but also images, video on social platforms, etc. This low quality AI content and these AI bots are prolific and ubiquitous and only going to continue to scale all of next year. So we have my team completely focused on providing flexible solutions for our clients because again we understand that our clients will fall differently on this spectrum. But we want to make sure that there's transparency. We want to make sure our advertisers know where they are running, and again provide them with the tools to avoid any content that doesn't again appropriately match their brand.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're talking about next year because my last question before we get to our attendee questions, and just to plug for the attendees again, we've got lots of questions coming in, but if you have a question, use the window on the right of your screen and you can pop a question in there as well. But Scott, if you had to make some predictions looking forward a year or maybe even 2 years, let's say, how big of a problem will AI slop and AI generated MFA be 2 years from now? How will marketers change the way they evaluate media quality? And how are we going to get from here to there? Like what can the marketers actually start working on or doing to prepare for what the world's going to look like in 24 months?
Wow, that's the big question, right? Like, so I'm fairly optimistic, right? Like, if if it's easy to be pessimistic and believe that AI slop is going to make the open web unusable. Um, but I'm optimistic in that these sites can only exist if if advertisers continue to place ads and support these sites, right? If they continue to place ads and support these sites through advertising, uh, we are going to see a continue and again massive increase in the number of these sites, right? So the goal has to be to cut off the funding of these sites and redirect the ad spend to quality sites, premium publishers. So again, I don't know the 90% forecast, right? So if 90% of content next year is AI generated, uh, you know, will advertisers come to peace with that, right? Again, I've talked to different advertisers with different points of view, and again, some are very very resistant to advertising alongside any AI generated content, and some understand that that's just going to be kind of like the new normal, right? Or the reality of the open web. Yeah, now more than ever, the focus for us as an industry is going to be how do we find those pearls, right? So if the majority of the open web does turn out to be AI slop, there's still going to be plenty of quality sites and content out there. It's just advertisers are going to need partners to help them navigate right through this open web to help find that quality inventory.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And actually speaks directly to the first question that I'm going to ask you from our audience today. And this is from a programmatic buyer asking, how can I better understand why I'm ending up on low quality content? How to avoid that and what the implications are if I'm not able to avoid it.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it's I mean, really, at the end of the day, if you're buying programmatically, your DSP is making the decision on which impressions to bid on, how much to bid, etc. So again, the best way um, to avoid advertising alongside low quality content is to work with your DSPs as well as DSP partners like IAS who can help who can provide you with these avoidance segments. So we have MFA and ad clutter avoidance segments within all of the leading DSPs today. And so if you're trafficking your campaigns, setting them up in your DSP, you can decide to avoid MFA or ad clutter sites. And again, if you're curious, we can generate reports so you can see if you're running on MFA or ad clutter sites or AI slop sites. And then once you see the data and you can see exactly which sites you're running on or which sites we're flagging, then you can decide, do I want to add these sites to an exclusion list? Do I want to enable pre-bid avoidance? Um, one of the things that we want to avoid is having everyone moving to an inclusion list, right? So inclusion lists are not healthy for the open web, right? There are new publishers, again, new legitimate publishers that are launching sites every day. Um, it can be very restrictive to operate off of just an inclusion list. So this is why we believe in the importance of a healthy open web and be able to find that quality supply across the open web.
Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't agree more that inclusion lists aren't healthy. And you know, if you were going to custom build a way to limit growth and innovation in web content, you probably couldn't do better than you know, creating a world where inclusion lists are the default. But you know, it speaks to another question that a couple of our audience members have asked, which is, you know, if we're going to assume that the sites through these exchanges and platforms and programmatic marketplaces are safe and not have to go to inclusion lists, whose responsibility is it for ensuring that advertisers aren't running on spammy sites or MFA sites or AI slop? Is it the responsibility of the network? Are the, you know, are networks even making it too easy for the bad actors to
Um,
monetize what they're doing?
yeah, I mean that's a kind of a controversial question, right? Um, the I mean the not so dirty secret is that many uh, entities within the supply chain make money off of this content, right? If you think about it, um, supply side platforms, SSPs, they make money, right? Helping to monetize low quality content. DSPs make money buying low quality content. So really it's the advertiser that's left holding the bag here. And again, quality publishers are also hurt because that ad spend is being siphoned away from them, right? Yeah, this is uh yeah, I mean, so again, I mean, ideally SSPs, and to and to their credit, some SSPs have been very vocal and transparent about, removing made for advertising from their platforms. Um, Again, ad clutter is kind of a different thing, and then AI slop or just AI generated content, if 90% of the web is AI generated, then we'll expect that those pages will be monetized through SSP and DSP platforms. So it is this is really, again, just to throw another plug for IS. This is really where we can come in and help, right? So this is our job. This is our wheelhouse, right? Our job is to um, ensure that advertisers are advertising alongside, brand appropriate content that is delivered to, real humans that drives actual meaningful campaign outcomes. And helping them optimize the performance of their campaigns by redirecting their spend away from these low quality sites. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we can help.
Okay. So one audience member wrote in with sort of an existential question about low quality sites.
Yeah.
It's this: if an advertiser is meeting their ROI metrics, why should anyone care about the quote quality of the inventory?
Yeah.
And who's to say that supposedly low quality content is bad if the audience is willing to consume the content and an advertiser gets what they're looking for?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And that is a fundamental question. But it goes back to what I touched on earlier about looking at the wrong metrics or looking at the wrong KPIs. So again, if you're just focused on views and clicks, you're looking at the wrong metrics. So the focus has to be on actual outcomes, right? So if it's a brand campaign, is your campaign delivering your brand lift or brand recall, or if it's a a performance campaign, is it driving actual conversions, right? So that really needs to be the focus and the focus on conversion rate and cost per conversion. Every advertiser should understand what their conversion rate and cost per conversion is on every site that they advertise on. And that's really what you should optimize to, right? So, I mean, forget about, these definitions of like what is MFA versus ad clutter versus AI slop. All of that's kind of moot, right? Or if everyone starts focusing on the right things, right? If everyone is focused on, how do I optimize, my return on ad spend? How do I maximize, my conversion rate and minimize my cost per conversion? Those are the metrics that people should be focusing on, and you'll naturally navigate away from these sites because these sites do not perform as well.
Yeah. All right, that's a great point. We only have time for one more, unfortunately. There's so many great questions from the audience that we're not going to get to, but the last one is about CTV. Obviously, AI's impact on
Hmm.
content and slop is much more targeted to text content right now, but how large a problem do you see this becoming in TV and video advertising? And how will we be able to assess the quality of that inventory when it starts to happen?
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a distinction here. So again, AI is going to be ubiquitous. It's going to be used to help create creatives, right? Or the actual ads themselves, the commercials. And this is a completely different topic that I haven't even touched on during this session. But I have brands coming to me saying that they're concerned that their brand or their products or their intellectual property is being misused in others' creatives, right? And so we have AI generated creatives, which also need to be monitored very carefully. And then within like CTV, yeah, AI generated video. I don't know if you've seen some of the Sora videos, but it's pretty amazing, right? I don't know where we're going with regards to television or movie production via AI, but what I've seen is very impressive. And brands want to know, right, what they're advertising alongside or what they're supporting. So when it comes to images, right? So again, there's a big problem with images, AI generated images that are inappropriate for brands. But videos, and then you talk about deep fakes. It's a big problem as well. So everything is going to have to be reviewed very carefully with a fine-tooth comb because it only takes one, poorly placed ad to create a lot of headaches for a brand.
Yeah. All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for the great content, for the great conversation, answering all those questions, both from me and from our audience. I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, it
Um,
was my pleasure, Nate. Thank you.
all right. And just before we wrap up, let me take a moment to tell our audience about eMarketer's media channels. You can register for more analyst and tech talk webinars like this one and subscribe to all of our newsletters at emarketer.com. And don't forget to check out eMarketer's podcasts available on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a really good one about AI that I may or may not have been part of that published last Friday. So thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today. And most of all, thanks to you, Scott, for participating today, for the great content and conversation, to your team at IAS, and of course to our eMarketer studio team who do a great job behind the scenes. We'll see you all again on the next Tech Talk.